Hello everybody, good morning, happy Thursday. I'm Pia from Stitches and Scraps, and this is Lunchtime Live episode 94. Getting closer to that 100th episode. We're also getting really close to 10,000 followers on YouTube. I'm like 150 followers away or something like that, so that's exciting. That's going to be fun when we hit that. So Lunchtime Live, for those of you who are new here, is basically my video newsletter. I'll tell you everything that's going on at Stitches and Scraps, what's coming up, what I'm working on, and then we'll end with a quick demo. Now for 2022, I'm doing a Stitch of the Week as the demo. So we're alternating between knit stitches and crochet stitches. This is a knitting week, and we're going to learn the knit Trinity stitch, which is super, super easy. It's actually just 2 stitches. Really, it's just a repeat of 2 stitches. But we will get there at the end. First, if you are new here and any of the things that I talk about during the video, if you want to see them, if I show you a pattern, which I'm going to, and you want to go get the pattern, look in the description on this video and you'll see a link. At that link is a blog post with a list of everything I plan to talk about and links to all of it. So you can go there and you'll see everything right there and you'll be able to get to it, whatever it is you're looking for. So let's jump right in. The first thing that's going on this week is we do have a new pattern, and that is this Happy Lemon softie. So he's got, or they've got, sorry, gender neutral. They've got, let me transfer here so I can show you close-ups. Okay. See, now why does it look so grainy when it looked so perfect before I was live? Anyway, I think it's the motion. I think it doesn't do motion well. Anyway, so this is the Happy Lemon Softie, and they have little rosy cheeks and an embroidered face and a little cute leaf, and this stem actually is just a hanging loop, so it's cool. You can hang it from anything or throw it, in a fruit basket or something, and it looks like a stem. I also I don't know if you can sort of see through the holes, there's a little nylon stocking in there. I put some of those polyfill poly pellets in the bottom, and that gives it a little extra weight. So when it's hanging, it actually hangs really nice and straight and doesn't get all twisty and blow around as much. So you can even hang it outdoors and it'll stay where it's supposed to. Fairfield did provide all of the poly pellets and fiberfill for the pattern, but actually, okay, so Fairfield, this is part of the Softie Crochet Along at CAL Central, which is a crochet along group that I'm in on Facebook, and we're doing the Softie Crochet Along right now, and this is my contribution to it. Fairfield sponsors that crochet along, so they provide all the stuffing and everything to all the designers who are making the softies for that crochet along. The thing is, they're so generous. I needed, a handful of stuffing for this. And in past years, I've been doing this with them for several years, right? So in past years, they've sent like this much stuffing, and I needed this much stuffing. So I actually have bags of stuffing under my bed, and the poly pellets and all that. So while they didn't actually send it to me this time for this pattern, I'm using leftovers of stuff they've sent me in previous years, and I probably will be for the rest of my life because they are very, very wonderful, generous people. But this is the new Softie pattern, and I did a full tutorial of it. So the tutorial just came out yesterday. I still have to go into the PDF and link it and all of that, but the tutorial is there on the site, and I've got the link up for it. So this is the new pattern for the week. The other things that I'm working on next week, the last video for our bag along cal comes out for bag number 3. And again, this over here is bag number 3 in that cal. It is the mandala bag, and it's got the zippered lining, and that actually is what the tutorial is that's coming out next week. It's a quick one, because this lining is actually fairly easy, because that's the only way it's possible for me to do it, because I'm not the greatest sewist. But it shows you basically, all right, so let me walk you through the structure of this lining. basically what I did was the zipper here is somewhere about 1¼ 1½ inches wide, right? So I took a little strip that was the same width and I sewed it onto the zipper. I don't know if you guys can see that. Here we go. So this little strip here, you can see that side strip, that gets sewn onto the zipper. So now you've got this long strip that's the whole circumference of the bag, and then you take 2 circles and sew one to each end of it. And that's how you do the lining. It's a very simply put together one. It's probably not the most perfect one ever. And then you just sew only the zipper part is attached to the bag itself, right? So, and I sewed that by hand. I just sewed the zipper on to the bag itself, and then the rest of this just hangs loosely inside. So that is the tutorial that's coming up. And then that'll wrap up this bag. So make sure you get your giveaway entries in for that one. After this bag, we're going to have a fairly easy bag for next time, because this one was a little complicated. We're going to have a fairly easy bag next month for bag number 4, and I'll start showing you sneak peeks of that next week, hopefully. Later this month, it's not next week, but the following week, I believe. It's the hang on, let me look at a calendar here. Okay, so yeah. Next week I'll be here, but the following week, the week of the 23rd for Lunchtime Live, I'm going to be at the H&H conference, which is local. I'll still be in town, but it's going to take up all my time. So I'm most likely not going to do Lunchtime Live. I would say, hey, I'll do a live video from the conference, but I don't think you guys will be interested. It's a trade show. So it's not exactly, it's geared towards, you know, shops and stuff like that. It's not all set up like a conference that for hobbyists and stuff like that. I might, if I'm able to, do a live video from there if I see something that I think you guys will be interested in, but most likely I'm not going to do a video at all next week. But then we'll catch up the following week, so we'll be good. And that's basically what's going on. Honestly, a lot of my time right now is spent on getting ready for that conference and CGOA. And that's it. So let's see. Let me see if I missed anything. Nope, that's everything. So let's jump right into the tutorial for this week. And this week we're doing the knit Trinity stitch. Next week we'll do the crochet Trinity stitch, which is a completely different stitch with a completely different look. The reason both of them are called Trinity stitches, but the reason that this knit one in particular is called a Trinity stitch is because it sort of uses 3 stitches at a time. You're doing a decrease over 3 stitches, and you're doing an increase that takes 1 stitch and makes it 3 stitches, and you're pairing those 2 together. The actual repeat though is 4 stitches. So don't let the name confuse you into thinking it's a 3-stitch repeat. It's a 4-stitch repeat because you've got a decrease for 3 stitches and then 1 stitch for the increase, and that's your repeat. So let's get into it and I will show you how it works. So I've done one wrong side row already. This pattern is worked on the wrong side row. So what I've done here, I cast on, I did a right side row, which was just knitting. Then I did 1 wrong side row of Trinity stitch, and then I've done another knit row. So we're starting after the first knit row. You're going to have a knit row to start out with, and then after that we just alternate this pattern. So I have here 14 stitches. I told you this is a multiple of 4. I have 1 extra edge stitch on each end just to keep the ends nice. So I'm going to knit my edge stitch. And now I'm going to start the Trinity pattern. So the increase that we're doing goes knit, purl, knit, all in the same stitch. So I insert my needle and I knit into that stitch, but I don't take it off. Okay? Now I'm going to bring my yarn to the front and I'm going to purl into that same stitch. And I don't take it off. Okay? Bring the yarn to the back and knit into that same stitch again. So now I've taken this 1 stitch and I've worked 3 stitches into it. There you go, there's the Trinity name, right? Okay, now that's a double increase because now I have 3 stitches where I had 1, so I need to pair it with a double decrease. I need to take the next 3 stitches and bring them down to 1. So I bring my yarn to the front and I'm simply going to purl these 3 stitches together. Okay, there we go. Put all 3 stitches on my needle, do a purl, and purl them together. And that makes almost like a little bobble that pops out to the other side. So that gives you the texture of your stitch here. So it's an increase followed by a decrease. Let's do that again. So we're on the increase, right? So we knit, purl, and then knit all into the same space. Okay, same stitch. Now we bring the yarn to the back and we decrease by purling 3 together. There we go. Let's do it one more time. Knit, purl, knit, all into the same stitch. Okay. Bring the yarn to the back, purl 3 together. And it gets a little tight with the purl 3 together, so make sure that you're keeping your tension nice and even. You don't want super tight tension here or you'll never get your needle into those 3 stitches. And then for my last stitch, I'm just going to knit. So because we paired a double increase with a double decrease every time, we have the same number of stitches. We still have 14 stitches. On the right side row, we're just going to knit across, which gives you a really good chance to count and make sure that you do indeed have those 14 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, oops, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Okay, so we know we've got our stitch count right. We can do the pattern row again. Now this time we want to stagger it. Last time we started with the increase, so this time we're going to start with the decrease. So again, I'm knitting my edge stitch, and then I'm going to start with the decrease, which is the purl 3 together. So bring the yarn to the back, or to the front, sorry, and purl 1, 2, 3 stitches together. All right, bring the yarn to the front and knit, purl, knit. So knit, purl, whoops, purl, there we go, knit. All right, bring the yarn to the front and purl 3. Now I think that in the first time I went through this row, I think I was saying front and back wrong because sometimes my mind gets messed up and I think, you know, wrong side as back. So I think like back of the work. So this time I'm going to be careful and we're going to go through this with me saying it correctly. Bring the yarn to the front of your work, purl 3 together. Bring the yarn to the back, knit, don't remove it from your needle. Bring the yarn to the front again, purl, bring the yarn to the back again, and knit, all in that same stitch. Let's do it one more time. Yarn forward, purl 3, whoops. See, it gets tight near the end here, right? So purl 3 together, and then yarn back, knit, yarn forward and purl, yarn back and knit. So decrease, increase, and then we're at our last stitch and I'm just going to knit that. So now you can see you've got the paired increases and decreases, and that when we stagger it, see there's one bump there and there's one bump there, and you get these bumps that are basically staggered. And that is the knit Trinity stitch, and it makes a really pretty sort of lacy overall fabric when you're done with it, especially after you block it, because this opens up a little bit and you get these kind of little bobbles in there. So variations, because I always like to talk about variations, You can put other stitches between your little Trinity stitch bubbles, right? You can space them out more. You can space them out row wise also. So you could have a little dot here, a little dot here, a little dot here, a little dot here. You can stack them. You don't have to stagger them like I did. So you could get columns of the dots versus like the increases in columns and the decreases in columns. And you can get all different looks just by where you place your increases and decreases. The only thing you don't want to change, unless you're trying to shape an item, is that you don't want to change the total stitch count. So if you want nice straight sides and you're not trying to get shaping going on, you want to make sure that every time you do the purl 3 together, you also do a knit, purl, knit. And you can spread those apart too. You could do purl 3 together, knit 2, knit, purl, knit, knit 2, purl 3 together. Absolutely fine. You just want to make sure that you have one increase for every decrease, and then you'll be good to go. So that is how you do the knit Trinity stitch. I keep wanting to say rosette, but it's Trinity stitch. Next week, I'll show you how to do the crochet Trinity stitch, which is completely different, but it also uses that same concept of a group of 3, which is where it gets its name from. So we will do that next week, and I'll see you then. Have a good weekend. I'll see you next week. Bye.